Yep. So
this is connecting the sealed Book of Mormon, as you read there on the screen, through the facts from the Bible and the Book of Mormon. And Darren's been doing a lot of preparation work in ministry and missionary work to those who only believe in the King James Version of the Bible. So to try and bring evidence of the seal book from that has been quite a challenge, because it's one that is not a normal track to go through. But wow, there is lots of things that happen when you ask the Lord to show you the way, and you'll see that through this class.
And I don't know how my throat's going to go on the first part of this, but we'll see how we go. What I've done, you'll see some colours there. I actually colour-coded this for a reason, because as we progress, the colours of those will be the books that we're reading from. So if we're in the Bible, it'll be yellow. The light blue will be the Book of Mormon. We've got the grey is the Doctrine and Covenants, RLDS only. And it'll be Moses in the Pearl of Great Price if it is that. And the Sealed Book of Mormon is in the pinky sort of colour there. So they'll be the books we're reading on. So we'll start. We'll get a head start, because we've got a lot to get through, and I'd like to try and see what we can do. Okay, so today we look at the evidence of the books that were found under the altar in the temple by Hilkiah.
And this is in the Sealed Book of Moses.
In the Sealed Book of Moses,
Right.
Yeah, and we'll see that as we're going through. And its connections to the Bible, the Book of Mormon, and the Doctrine and Covenants in the RLDS, or the Pearl of Great Price, Moses. And first, let us trace backwards from the Sealed Book, from the Plates of Mormon, and follow the trail and the evidence that proves the linking in detail, which when shown will be significant, proving the awesome authenticity of the truth from the scriptural content from each of these books. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, the timeline and content would be from approximately 630 BC. That's what we discovered.
Yes.
To around 592 BC, because that's when Nephi and Lehi departed, or the Nephites then departed Jerusalem.
It was all happening in Jerusalem at that time.
There was a lot going on, so much so I discovered so much information. So now I went to johnpratt.com for the religious chronology. I think I did the complete one that he had. He's got two different ones. He's got a religious one and a complete. And I urge anyone that wants to see the timeline of when things happened. He did years of study on these things from different books, from different calendars, and he pinpointed dates right down to the day, AM and PM even. So I would suggest that if you want to know something, he would have an answer there for you. So I think I've skipped a bit here. So and it covers a lot in the time that was coming forth, especially when Hilkiah found the books found in the temple under the altar in the temple, as spoken about in the Sealed Book, and the Bible, 2 Kings chapter 22, and also 2 Chronicles chapter 34, and I think it goes into 35 as well. So we'll discuss that. There are those links if anyone wants to pause the screen in this recording and take those notes down on where those religious chronology things are found, the information that John Pratt's got on his website. Okay, so this is a screenshot or an altered version of what he had on that page, and I'll just show you. This is sort of what he's got on his page. And King Josiah, that's the purge date. You'll see there. And you can see that happened in 628 BC, and there's where he reads the law below that on the 3rd of October in 622 BC. So this is not long before Lehi would have been preparing to leave Jerusalem, only 22 years or so. So there was a lot going on. There would have been a lot of iniquity in the city, and the prophets like Jeremiah and Lehi and others were all warning of the destruction of Jerusalem was coming if they didn't repent and turn back to the Lord. And this is around the time, and the Lord's timing is always good, because he found these. He had Hilkiah discover these records under the altar at that time, and they read them, and you'll see what happened when they read these writings of Moses. So you can see where Lehi departed there, and Nephi was a week later. Obviously, in that time frame, he went back to get the plates, the brass plates.
Yeah, it was interesting on them returning to get the plates from the treasury with Laban, and also Darren will also bring out, no doubt, something that was another part of the records that they were to take with them to the promised land.
Yeah, there's a comment coming in here. Go ahead.
Your microphone.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what does the green represent?
Oh, the green
color.
That's just to highlight what was happening at the time.
But that's Book of Mormon, and that's
that's what was happening at the time. And the blue, that blue isn't Book of Mormon. This highlighting here I should have done in different colors.
Yeah,
I should have done in different colors.
Oh, I thought it was with
no. Sorry, I actually highlighted this first and then went back and did all the other highlighting.
Oh, I see.
And I forgot to change the colors.
Thank you.
The green is the actual what was happening at the time, and the light blue is the date.
Okay.
On when it happened, when it occurred. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you,
Sharon. Okay, and you can see there's more. I didn't highlight any of these other ones, but you can see the scriptures next to them, which John Pratt managed to do, and he managed to link up the scripture references to these dates, what was going on at the time. And it's quite interesting if you go to this chronology site that he's got and just have a look, because it brings the jigsaw puzzle together of the time frames. And you can see the fall of Jerusalem there in 586 BC. And he even gives the days, which I thought was amazing. But the burning of the temple was only a month later, within the month or so. So you can see that's in Jeremiah there. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Remember, though, that Lehi had gone back to Jerusalem to tell them that, there would be this destruction coming unless they repent. And, of course, they all laughed at Lehi and actually threw him out. Yeah. And so this is the result of it. And it's only, 14 years after Lehi actually leaves that the destruction actually takes place.
So the Lord knew
in advance, and Laman and Lemuel always sort of wanted to hold back because they wanted to be with the people. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, So as we see, the time frame of the connection is very interesting, and more than a probability to connection as to the facts to be shown forward. So we know that Lehi was around at that time, that those writings that were found under the altar of the temple. So one thing to note, and this is something for the cacklers actually here. One thing to note that I discovered after I began my studies approximately 2 years ago. This was for the Plates of Mormon study. I discovered a document written earlier by Brother Ian Cackler from the Herald of the Second Invitation, Volume 3, Article 2, in August 2019, and I'd forgotten about this one. And it was entitled, "Can Lehi be Elisar?" And it's strange enough, I hadn't read totally through that properly even before I did the Plates of Mormon study, when I was saying similar things about Lehi and Elisar, and it is a good read, but I couldn't find a copy of it. It's not available online anymore, and it should be probably on the new website, but it hasn't been transferred over. All these earlier articles should be transferred. But anyway, I could not, it says I could not locate any earlier Herald editions. As this article goes over most things presented here today, but I also need authorization first, and I would prefer if Brother Zachary Cackler was allowed to share this with us at some stage. And it would be more important as it is his father who authored the article, and would really like for him to present it if possible. So that's another time.
Yeah, that's a challenge for Brother Zachary if he felt so inclined to do that.
Yeah.
Because this is a very, very interesting and the material, though, is most helpful for those who are wishing to show that Elisar was Lehi,
and he has some arguments in there.
Yes,
that others may have tried to argue the point.
Yeah,
but it's very interesting and worthy of a study. So anyway, I'll leave that. We'll move on
for another time.
Yep. As we begin this interesting study, we will trace backwards from the Seal Book to the Bible, seeing the Book of Mormon and D&C in the RLDS. Evidence appear between the three books, in turn linking them to the Seal Book. We discover as we read words of Moroni, the first book contained in the Seal Book of Mormon, that verse 7 first mentions about who Shaphan was. Let us now read that verse. So we're going to do some reading now. Okay, so it says, "Behold, I am Moroni, the son of Mormon, and my father was a descendant of Nephi, who was the son of Lehi, our patriarch, who was the son of Shaphan, coming from a family of scribes in the kingdom of Judah, and the tribe of Joseph by the seed of Manasseh. Just as one reads in the genealogy of Lehi by his own record described in the first part of these plaques that my father Mormon compiled." Okay, there's a reference to Alma there, and I've put these references in where I can, so we can read what those references say. And that reference says, "And Aminadai was a descendant of Nephi, who was the son of Lehi, who came out of the land of Jerusalem, who was a descendant of Manasseh, who was the son of Joseph, who was sold into Egypt by the hands of his brethren." So that's in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, and that gives you the exact line of family there.
Yep. So we'll go on to verse 8 now. Do you want to read this one?
Yes, I'll read this.
Yeah.
Shaphan was the scribe secretary of King Josiah in the days when Hilkiah, the high priest, found under the altar of the temple in Jerusalem the ancient records of Moses, and among them the book of the law and the seal book itself of the things that Moses saw when he was snatched to heavenly Zion. And the reference is there, which you can read.
Now, these references, first off, I won't share the King's one yet, because that's going to be done in a lot that we're going to do further on. We will get to that. The Hebrews one I'll share now, but you can see there's a D&C one there, which we'll share later because that comes up again. And that's the one that is important as well. So this is Hebrews chapter 12, verses 20 to 23. Okay, and it says, "For they could not endure that which was commanded, and if so much as a beast touched the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. But ye are come unto the Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels." Okay.
Do you want me to read this one?
Yep.
Okay. This is words of Moroni, verse 9. "And it came to pass that in the first days of the reign of Zedekiah, for how much Lehi returned from Babylon together with Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, when they were jointly commissioned by the king of Judah to go to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. And they took with them a letter from Jeremiah the prophet, destined for the elders, the priests, and the prophets, and all the people exiled in the land of Shinar. At the,
I got something just come up
something
here.
just came on the screen. I
That's
can't
all right.
read that.
There we go.
Yeah, that the Lord appeared to him in a pillar of fire. And after that event, he was no longer called by the birth name Elisar, but he became known by the name that God called him, Lehi, which corresponds to an abbreviation of Elizib, whose meaning is by means of whom God restores. And that's that reference there from Jeremiah.
Yeah. Now that reference in Jeremiah, that begins with this information, which we'll see in a minute. But that's actually the letter that they took, that they were talking about here. But just back in the verse here where it says, took with them a letter from Jeremiah the prophet, destined for the elders and priests and the prophets that were exiled in the land of Babylon. Okay, so this is the 3 verses here from Jeremiah. Now, these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of elders which were carried away captives, and to the priests and the prophets, and to all the people from Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. After that, Jeconiah the king, and the queen, and the eunuchs, and the princes of Judah and Jerusalem, and the carpenters and the smiths were departed from Jerusalem. And here's verse 3, which mentions Elisar here. By the hand of Elisar, the son of Shaphan, and Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah, king of Judah, sent unto Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, saying. And that verse goes on into 4, but we won't go into that.
Okay.
So that was about the letter. If you read on from verse 4, you'll read that letter. And we read that yesterday.
Yeah, it's a long letter,
it's
by the way. It's quite a long letter, and it explains a lot of detail on that.
If you do want to know what was contained in there, please read on from that in your own time later. So the Book of Mormon here, this is First Nephi, and the scripture references for LDS are first and second for our LDS. But
there's our link there with the
Pillar
LDS.
of Fire.
I'm sorry we didn't clarify all of the LDS references.
I did with most.
Yeah, but I mean on the early ones we didn't have today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the reading from the Book of Mormon here. It says, and this mentions, I've highlighted the pillar of fire because it mentioned it in the previous verse. And wherefore it came to pass that my father Lehi, as he went forth, prayed unto the Lord, yea, even with all his heart, in behalf of his people. And it came to pass that as he prayed unto the Lord, became a pillar of fire, and dwelt upon a rock before him, and he saw and heard much. And because of the things which he saw, he did quake and tremble exceedingly. So this was the moment that he was changed. His name was changed to Lehi, as it mentions in, just to let everyone know in the Book of Mormon where that was.
Right.
Okay. And I did a search on Elisar, the name, and it was interesting because this is from a Hebrew site on the internet, and I've copied it and pasted it on. It's got the reference at the bottom, but it says Elisar means God has made, and it says son of Shaphan, so they recognize it too. One of Zedekiah's emissaries to Nebuchadnezzar, who brought the letter written by Jeremiah to the elders in exile, and it mentions those. I haven't written this. This is off the internet, so they also understand that as well. Okay. And there's some references there if you want to pause the screen or read more on that. But it does mention Shaphan, his father, was a scribe of Josiah. And
so there's no doubt that it was Lehi. Yeah.
Yep. And this is from jewishvirtuallibrary.org /Elisar for Elisar. So that's just confirming outside the seal book and the books of our faith that this is recognised through other channels. Now, I did a Google search also on Elisib. Now, Elisib is spelt a little differently. You'll notice it's got a H in there. But if you read what it means whom God will restore. So this is confirming, and this is a Google search, by the way. It's not done through any other channel. This is just through Google, and it confirms that Elisib means whom God will restore.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Okay. So King Zedekiah reigned from 597 BC, and I didn't put when he finished, but I know it was when the fall of Jerusalem came. He wasn't king anymore. But this is just a little bit of information I got from that same source of the Jewish Virtual Library on him, because we know he was linked in at that time frame when things were going on. And what was the standout things here? His name was changed. That's right, from Mattaniah to Zedekiah, and that's mentioned in the Bible as well. And I did have that link written somewhere further on.
Yeah.
But anyway, oops, I've jumped. Okay, so the Book of Mormon here, here it is, Helaman, chapter 6, verse 10 for the LDS, and chapter 2, verse 129. I've got that thing come up again. My eyes are not too good on getting on the arrows. Okay, so it says, now the land south was called Lehi, and the land north was called Mulek, which was after the son of Zedekiah. And this is why we brought Zedekiah into it, because Mulek was one of the sons of Zedekiah. And for the Lord did bring Mulek to the land north and Lehi to the land south.
Right.
So this was the Lord ensuring that someone went to the promised land.
Yeah.
And his plan was, and I think in the Plates of Mormon study we did, I was trying to say that Lehi probably, most likely, I would say, would have known Mulek.
Yes.
Or known of him anyway.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting thing.
Yeah, because Mulek, of course, we know that he arrived there because they became the Mulekites.
Yeah.
And
it's
interesting because also the scripture would indicate in some parts there that the sons of Zedekiah were killed, or in fact, it was in the scripture there that all the sons of Zedekiah were killed. Obviously, though, that in some way Mulek escaped. Now, I imagine that if there were a whole lot of brothers and they had a younger brother, and they would try in some way, knowing what was going to happen to them, would have somehow hidden him or enabled him to be able to be not seen and certainly not to be killed at that time. And so, you know, and how that may have happened could be even other ways too.
Yeah.
He may have not been born at that time. He may have been still in his mother's womb. So they're just thoughts that how Mulek managed to escape the destruction on his brothers from Nebuchadnezzar, and of course we know that Zedekiah had been made blind after he had seen them. So that was a very tragic story. That
Anyway,
okay.
All right, well, we'll continue here.
Okay.
This is from Helaman, chapter 8 in LDS and chapter 3 in RLDS, with the verses shown there. And it says, now, behold, Moses did not... You might have to take over.
Yeah. And now behold, Moses did not only testify of these things, but also all the holy prophets from his days, even to the days of Abraham. Yea, and behold, Abraham saw of his coming and was filled with gladness and did rejoice. Yea, and behold, I say unto you that Abraham not only knew of these things, but there were many before the days of Abraham who were called by the order of God, yea, even after the order of his son. And this that it should be shown unto the people a great many thousand years before his coming, that even redemption should come unto them.
I'll continue if you
Okay.
want. I'll give it a go.
All right.
Okay. And now I would that ye should know that even since the days of Abraham, there have been many prophets that have testified of these things. Yea, behold, the prophet Zenos, that is, I shouldn't have an A
Yeah,
there,
yep.
did testify boldly for the which he was slain. And behold, also Zenoch, and also Isaiah, and also Isaiah and Jeremiah. Jeremiah being that same prophet who testified of the destruction of Jerusalem. And now we know that Jerusalem was destroyed according to the words of Jeremiah. Oh, then why not the Son of God come according to his prophecy? And now will you dispute that Jerusalem was destroyed? Will you say that the sons of Zedekiah were not slain, except it were Mulek? Yea, and do you not behold that the seed of Zedekiah are with us? And they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem. But behold, this is not all. Our father Lehi was driven out of Jerusalem because he testified of these things. Nephi also testified of these things, and also almost all of our fathers, even down to this time. Yea, they have testified of the coming of Christ and have looked forward and have rejoiced in his day which is to come. And behold, he is God, and he is with them, and he did manifest himself unto them, that they were redeemed by him, and they gave unto him glory because of that which is to come. And this I've highlighted at the bottom here.
Yeah.
And
Do you want me to read this bit? 24.
Yep.
And now, seeing that ye know these things and cannot deny them, except ye shall lie, therefore in this ye have sinned, for ye have rejected all these things, notwithstanding so many evidences which ye have received. Yea, even ye have received all things, both things in heaven and all things which are in the earth, as a witness that they are true.
We'll continue with the words of Moroni now. And this is verses 27 through 35, but we've got some things in between to read as well.
And I think after you finish this reading, we'll pause for a minute and just see if there are any questions.
Yeah.
Because we were hoping that some of this information you would have taken in, and you may have some questions about it.
Yeah.
And if we can help, we would like to clarify that. But it gives Darren a break, and his voice will perhaps see.
It'll get better as the morning goes on.
Okay.
Okay. So verse 27, from the sealed records of the prophets, which were summarized and compiled on this set of plates by my father Mormon, among them is the sealed book of Moses, written by the hand of Moses himself in the scrolls of hides, which had been sealed by his signet ring. Now, this is very significant because it wasn't done on brass plates at this time.
Yeah.
Or any plates.
Yeah.
It was on scrolls of hides. Remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
And which was later compiled on the plates of the people of Nehi, which contains the records of the prophets, containing the things he saw concerning this world and the prophecies concerning the judgments of God that would fall on the inhabited earth, each in their respective dispensations. For how much King Josiah himself did not endure these prophecies, whose record was found together with the book of the law. So there was more than the one record.
Yep.
When Hilkiah, the high priest in the Jerusalem, undertook the restoration of the temple, coming to consult Huldah, the prophetess, to know if any of these terrible events described in this sealed book of Moses would have to fall upon the chosen nation of his days.
Yeah. So he was quite upset that after hearing it being read by, I think Shaphan wrote that read that to
Yep.
Josiah.
He did.
And that then they were asked to go to the prophetess Huldah. Now,
The reason, we'll I think it does explain why they
Yeah.
went there.
yeah, because she obviously was a real prophet.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to note
Prophetess.
that she had the authority, and the Lord had told her the events, and perhaps we'll read that as it goes on now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So this is from the first Nephi, the first message there. It's to be read, and it says, "And I did read many things unto them which were written in the books of Moses."
Yeah.
So they're saying this is saying that was more than what was contained.
Okay.
And this grey here, this is from the D&C in the RLDS, and it's also Moses in the Pearl of Great Price. And it says, "And now, Moses, my son, I will speak unto thee concerning this earth upon which thou standest, and thou shalt write the things which I speak. And in the day when the children of men shall esteem my words as naught, and take many of them, from the book which thou shalt write, behold, I will raise up another like unto thee, and they shall be had again among the children of men, among as many as shall believe." Now that's interesting, because that speaks seal book all
Yeah.
through that to me.
Okay.
But anyway, the
do you want me
words,
to read? Oh, no.
yeah,
you
the
finish.
words which were, these words were spoken unto Moses in the mount, the name of which shall not be known among the children of men. And now they are spoken unto you. Show them not unto any except that believe. Even so, amen.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Now, just to make a pause here, and I've just felt, because we've got
about half an hour to go.
half an hour to go. We're about halfway through. Now, from what we've read so far, is there any significant information that you've heard that you didn't know before? So maybe everybody has heard all of those references, and it's interesting too to go say this one in 2 Kings chapter 22 from the Bible. You'll find that it confirms what the seal book says, because it mentions the names and the people. And also we found another reference in the Bible.
Oh, you did. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
we'll continue.
We'll go through this first.
Yeah.
No, we haven't heard anything. Does anybody want to say anything?
I think they probably know most of this already.
I would just say that I really appreciate the class so far. It's fantastic information.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brother Rex. Yeah, this is
the Lord,
exciting.
the Lord led us to do this. It wasn't my idea initially, but he must want this to be shared online, through the recording, maybe with others that haven't known this before. And I think this is probably the reason.
Yes, it's not just the immediate class and those folk that we see on the screen here right now, but is beyond this, those that will listen to this and say, hang on a second, there could be something in this seal book. And it's not we that do this, it is the Holy Spirit that moves into those that hear and that are persuaded of the truth in what the Lord has preserved to bring light and truth to all of those that seek it. And so it's quite exciting when you're reading through. And as I was just the other day reading in the Old Testament and came across a similar reference to this 2 Kings chapter 22 that Darren will read now.
Yep. Okay, so we'll start reading because this time's running, the clock's ticking. Okay.
Yeah.
"And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it." So this is where Shaphan,
dad,
Lehi's father, read it.
Yep.
So he would have taken that in and been totally amazed, I would guess. And it would have changed a lot about his thoughts at that time as well. You think about, it's like when we received the seal book, it changes our perception on things. So this would have been life changing at the
it
time.
would have been a life changing
and you'll see how this affected people.
Yep.
Go ahead. There's a comment there.
So my question is, and I already know the answer, but for the sake of those here, so why is it that Shaphan had to read the record? Why couldn't someone else have done it?
Yeah.
Well, I think Shaphan, first of all, was Lehi's father.
Yeah.
And he must have been well known to the king. They probably got on quite well together, because it said, in that verse 9 here, that Shaphan, the scribe, came to the king and brought the king word again, because he must have mentioned some detail of it.
But this is also wise planning of the Lord in advance, that he had a people that would listen and pass this word on through the families, and the lineage. If you'll see further on with the lineage, it goes into the lineage as well. We'll share a little bit about as well. But
this little
and
next,
if Brother Rex has got some more comment on that.
Go on, Brother Rex. Sorry.
If you want to expand on that, you're welcome.
Well, the scribes would have been trained in the languages of the surrounding nations, and it's probably likely that the record was not in Hebrew, or was a blend of Egyptian and Hebrew. So it's likely that Shaphan was the only one that would have been able to translate it. So
very good. Yes.
Right. Yes.
And that does say it in the scriptures there somewhere. I'm positive. I did read that yesterday. So you're correct.
Yeah.
Brother Rex, that's spot on. Yeah. He knew more than one language, and he knew how to decipher it and do that. And that would have been needed back then.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, Moses had more than one language that he was
Moses
writing in.
The pure language too, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
So what verse are we up to? The 9, is it? And Shaphan the scribe came to the king and brought the king the word again, and said, thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and delivered it into the hand of them that do the work, that have the oversight of the house of the Lord. Now, at that time, they were repairing the temple, and they found the money, but it would have been in a place of precious things, because the money would have been stored in a special area. And it was in that area, somewhere in that area, that they found these.
Probably the Ark of the Covenant is also mentioned, where the sealed record was found. And so that's the holiest of holy places, and therefore it would be very, very restricted. And that's probably why it wasn't looked upon or searched for, because it was in a place not to be sort of known.
Yep. Okay. And Shaphan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. And it must have been absolutely blowing him away that much.
Terrifying for him.
Terrifying
for him to realise what is actually taken place.
And I read yesterday, some of that book of the law, or most of the book of the law, was what people consider Deuteronomy.
Okay.
That's what I read on the internet when I did some study yesterday. But I would say there was some stuff that is in the seal book, and as we read later, there's more on the other seal book itself that would be what we've got now. Plus, there's some more.
Yeah, so, there'd be other parts of which are highly holy.
Yeah,
like extremely holy. Perhaps that's a better way of putting.
Yeah.
And therefore we're not ready even
we're not ready
to do that. And that's why some of it, which is in this law that in the writings of Moses will be read by Jesus himself when he returns.
Yep. Okay, so, and the king commanded Hilkiah, the priest of Hakim, the son of Shaphan, that was Shaphan's father then, and Akbor, the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan, I'm not too good at the pronunciations here, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaniah, the servant of the kings, saying...
Just Arikam there would be Lehi's brother.
No. Oh, yes, it would be, yes. And it does mention that in one of the, I think it may be the seal book.
So
I can't remember. I know I've seen it more than once.
So that'd be interesting, because they would all know one another in that.
Maybe he was an older brother.
Maybe
that was
too,
the thing. So go ye inquire of the Lord for me and the people and for all Judah concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book, to do according unto all that is written concerning us. So Hilkiah the priest and Hakim and Akbor and Shaphan and Asaniah went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvah, the son of Haras, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they communed with her. And she said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, tell the man that sent you to me, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon this place and the inhabitants thereof, even all of the words of this book, which the king of Judah hath read, because they have forsaken me and burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place and shall not be quenched.
But the king of, but to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shall ye say to him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord, when thou hearest what I spake against this place and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept before me, I have also heard thee, saith the Lord. Behold, therefore, I will gather unto thee thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace, and thine eyes shall not see all the evil which I shall bring upon this place. And they brought the king word again.
Yeah. So there's more that goes on. If you read on further, I won't go into it, but they actually burn the bones of some of the priests and things.
Yeah, because they were worshipping idols and doing all the things that caused that situation to get the way it was.
Okay, so we'll go back to the words of Moroni here. This is verses 28 to 32. But of all the records of Moses, my father Mormon compiled only a summary, leaving aside the prophecies and pointing to a wise future purpose, the issues related to the Melchizedek priesthood among the covenant people from the beginning to the end of all preconceived times, for how much the remaining content of this book of Moses will be on the plates that will be revealed only when Christ comes to his temple in the last days. So this is contained in those plates that Christ is going to read, together with the other ones, the brother of Jared.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And the ones, is it Samuel the Lamanite ones, or is that later coming? I'm not sure.
My mind is a bit fuzzy on that.
I should have done my research a bit better, but I know there's some other. Anyway, therefore it was in the care of the family of Lehi, whose name was Elisar, before the Lord called him, for insomuch his father Shaphan, as well as his forefathers before him, was the secretary and scribe of the king of Judah, and with and with that he was acquainted with the language of his ancestors. There you go, Brother Rex. And also from the Phoenicians as well as the Chaldeans, from which Abraham proceeded, and also the Egyptian writing, for how much the Hebrews were taken captive by Pharaoh after Joseph perished in Egypt until Moses delivered them. And we've read Jeremiah 29, 1-3. They're referencing that again. And 2 Kings, we've gone through that as well. But the first Nephi one, I think, may be read here. Here it is. Yea, I make a record in the language of my father, which consists of the learning of the Jews and the language of the Egyptians. So this is from the Book of Mormon,
Right.
confirming that fact. Okay. Thus Lehi had been commissioned by the Lord to protect this record of Moses and directed to cross the great waters soon after returning from Babylon, when in the early days of the reign of Mattaniah, which is Zedekiah, which had been given the name of Zedekiah, he was sent with Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, to Nebuchadnezzar with a message from the king of Judah. It was at this time that Jeremiah the prophet sent the care of Elisar, that is by Lehi, a letter to the chief elders of Judah and Jerusalem who were exiled in the land of Babylon. And this is just confirming.
Yeah, that's another confirmation of that.
Yeah, and this is from the seal book.
We have a couple of hands raised whenever.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
We didn't hear. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Hello. I just wanted to say, Brother Darren, about the records, the portion of the sealed plates that Mauricio unsealed, if that makes sense, the 42 plates, the 19 plates, the first 19 of those are the sealed Book of Mormon we have now, and the next 23 is yet to come forth to the church, which contains the prophecies of Samuel the Lamanite and a third of the revelations of John.
Yeah, that was the other one. Yes.
Yeah, right.
And
Thank
so
you.
the sealed portion that remains sealed, that Christ will unseal, will be the 2/3 of the revelation of John, the rest of the book of Moses, and the vision of Brother Jared.
Uh-huh.
I think that's how it goes. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
Yeah, thanks, Brother Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. I did remember you reminded me about the revelations of John then too. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'll tell you what, I would love to see them, but we're not ready yet. Obviously.
Yeah.
I would love to see them.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need more spirituality yet. Okay, and it came to pass, therefore, that this record of Moses was again sealed by Shaphan, the father of Lehi, and after the order of Josiah, the king of Judah, for the posterity of Israel and his seed, as set forth in the record of Lehi, for insomuch that his writings were hidden by him and his brethren in a cave that lay between the mountainous plain of Meera, east of Sidon, and which was later required of Lehi to bring with him to this land of promise.
Now, did I hear Brother Rick say that there were a couple of hams?
I might have missed someone. Sorry.
Yeah.
I might have missed someone. Go ahead.
Was there another person that would like to say something?
I think Sister Sharon's hand has been up since she raised it a while back.
I see. Okay, thanks, Sister Renee. Thank you.
But she's waving her hands that she doesn't have a question.
Okay, thank you. Because we can't see the screen.
Yeah,
when you
we
present, you can't see a
screen.
thing.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
I apologise for that. I should have been a bit more on the ball there. I'm actually wanting to try and get as much as we can before this time is up.
Darren gets quite excited because, in this research, you get a feeling that you're really on a discovery situation, and when you do get little bits of information, you just want to share it. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll read this last verse here. And it came to pass when Lehi was commissioned that he was overpowered by the Spirit of the Lord. He was shown the sealed book of Moses, which he would have to protect, and that he was required to read his pages, thus coming to understand that which his father Shaphan had read years before, to King Josiah concerning the destruction of Jerusalem, when he rent his garments before the prophecies described by the great Moses, which were to occur in all ages until the coming of the Messiah, and after him to the consummation of the fullness of time. Now, just before I go on to this bold bit here, I just want to say that that bit that it mentions earlier on where Lehi was overcome with the Spirit and he was shown a vision, that was just after when he went home after witnessing that pillar of fire moment when he was praying to the Lord. He went home and he had that miraculous vision. And this is what was happening at that time, the explanation here in the seal book, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yep. And it says in the bold bit here, thus with the other records on the brass plates from the beginning to Jeremiah, they were required by the Lord that Lehi should bring them from Jerusalem to this land of promise. Now, I was talking with Dad yesterday about this, and we'll go on very quickly in a second. But I would say that those in the cave that was mentioned where he was instructed to hide these hides of Moses, which had the seal of his signet ring or whatever it was on these hides, that Lehi would have taken them as well as the plates.
Yeah.
But he was told not to say anything about that.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
Yeah. And so it would indicate that there was more than the treasury of Laban.
Yeah.
It was another place that had the sealed record, which the Lord required Lehi to bring with him to the promised land.
I don't think they were transferred onto plates at that stage.
No, I would think
I don't
not
think he
too.
would have
I
had
think
time.
they were just the way they were.
Yeah.
So that was interesting,
Yeah.
and certainly something that I didn't consider until yesterday to understand that I thought all the stuff was in Laban's treasury, but not so.
Not so. Because it says it was hidden in a cave because Shaphan was instructed to do that.
Yep.
Okay. And the family, would have known somehow. Anyway.
They would talk
They
to
were a
one
family of
another, no
scribes,
doubt. That Lehi probably told Nephi, and Nephi would have probably known Shaphan, his grandfather, anyway. So there would have been a lot of information going on.
And that would have been in the genealogy of the families that wasn't told to be written at the time.
Yep, correct.
Anyway, let's go ahead. So this is the reference here in First Nephi. We'll read here, chapter 19 in LDS and chapter 5 in RLDS, and it says, "And he surely did show unto the prophets of old all things concerning them, and also he did show unto many concerning us. Wherefore it must needs be that we know concerning them, for they are written upon the plates of brass. Now it came to pass that I, Nephi, did teach my brethren these things, and it came to pass that I did read many things to them, which were engraven upon the plates of brass, that they might know concerning the doings of the Lord in other lands among people of old. And I did read many things unto them, which were written in the books of Moses. But that I might more fully persuade them to believe in the Lord their Redeemer, I did read unto them that which was written by the prophet Isaiah, for I did liken all the scriptures unto us, that it might be for our profit and learning."
Yeah.
So, and I think the same about the seal book now too. It's for our profit and learning.
Yeah. Yes.
So here's some more here in First Nephi that I've put in here. Do you want to read this one?
Yes, I'll read it
it's
for
First
you.
Nephi chapter 1 LDS and chapter
9:12 RLDS. "And they came down and went forth upon the face of the earth. And the first came and stood before my father, and gave unto him a book, and bade him that he should read. And it came to pass that as he read, he was filled with the Spirit of the Lord. And he read, saying, Woe, woe unto Jerusalem, for I have seen thine abominations. Yea, and many things did my father read concerning Jerusalem. that it should be destroyed, and that the inhabitants thereof, many should perish by the sword, and many should be carried away captive into Babylon.
Yeah, and that's just a confirmation of that
Yeah.
vision that he saw when he came back after witnessing the pillar of fire. But that's from the Book of Mormon. Okay, so this is from the seal book, verse 33. Okay.
Nevertheless, over time, the very book of the law, except for the sealed book of Moses' prophecies, had been transcribed in many brass books with a wise purpose of the Lord for the days of King Benjamin, which were distributed among the priests of the people of the Nephite nation, that they might remember the law of the Lord and might teach the people to keep themselves holy before the heavens.
Now, yesterday, Dad had a reading that he had from the Doctrine and Covenants and also First Nephi, and he mentioned it was about the 116 plates that went
That
missing.
got lost, by Martin Harris. You might remember that.
Yeah, and a second, and in First Nephi it mentions about how the Lord had
Was
him make
planning to cover it.
that there was a second duplicate set.
Yeah, a duplicate set of plates. One was to cover the ministry to the people. That's one set of records that Nephi had to do. And the second was more the kings and the wars and contentions of the people. So that which was lost was not of a great treasure because the ministry part was the one that was retained, and we have it now in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
That was interesting, I felt, because you see it from both sides. One, Nephi says, I don't know why I'm doing this. Nevertheless, the Lord wanted me to do this for a wise purpose in him.
Yeah. I just want to read this bit from the D&C.
Okay.
And yet I haven't got an LDS reference yet, but it's from this is our LDS reference here, section 3, and it's 9A, and through to 10A, is it?
Yeah, D&C 3, hang
read your
on.
writing.
Hold on.
I wrote this morning, it's section 3, 9A and B. You've got a different reference written there.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, but it mentions here, and now because of the account which is engraven upon the plates of Nephi, is more particular concerning the things in which, in my wisdom, I should bring to this knowledge of this people in this last account. Sorry, in this account, not last account. Therefore, you shall translate the engravings which are on the plates of Nephi down until you come to the reign of King Benjamin, or until you have come to that which you have translated, which you have retained. Now, it noted King Benjamin in here, and I said to Dad, I think there's some link with this, because he read that yesterday, and this is just me.
Yeah.
This is just me, because when I see things, I think, oh, there's a link. But this is something that may have been.
Yeah, that the Lord was wanting
some more written on the
detail,
transcribed onto the brass plates. But anyway, look, that was just
a thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did I read all that?
I
think
yes, you've read that.
Yep. Okay. So we've got a few minutes left. This is verse 34 of Words of Moroni, I think. Yep. Out of the seal book. For this reason, it was that my father Mormon summed up among the two books of Moses only the one that had been sealed and which had never been revealed to the children of the covenant because of their iniquities. In turn, only those who truly believed and sought to know the mysteries of God and received this knowledge. However, it was forbidden to divulge them.
Yeah. So
this is amazing.
This is part of what the Lord
That'd
does in any case. Nobody will know the mysteries of God just by sort of saying, I want to know all about God.
Yeah.
They will not succeed. It's got to be through the holy approach to be like making yourself, sort of clean and straight before him. Okay.
Yep. So here we go with the first reference here. It's from RLDS D&C 22 and Moses in the Pearl of Great Price. And it says, and now of this thing Moses bore record, but because of wickedness it is not had among the children of men. So this is saying that exactly what the verse was saying, that because of their iniquities they wouldn't get this information. And we'll go on to the second reference here, which is Alma, chapter 9 LDS and not RLDS, and Alma 12 in the LDS. And I've done that thing again. Oop, cancel that. Okay, and this will be almost the end here.
Okay.
And now Alma began to expound these things unto him, saying, it is given unto many to know the mysteries of God. Nevertheless, they are laid under a strict command that they shall not impart only according to the portion of his word, which he doth grant unto the children of men according to the heed and the diligence which they give unto him. And therefore he that will harden his heart, the same receiveth the lesser portion of the word, and he will not harden his heart, to him is given the greater portion of the word, until it is given unto him to know the mysteries of God, until he know them in full. And they that will harden their hearts, to them is given the lesser portion of the word, until they know nothing concerning, and I'll go on here, his mysteries, and then they are taken captive by the devil and led by his will down to destruction. Now, this is what is meant by the chains of hell.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Now, I'll just have a quick look. We're almost on time now. We're going to have to finish. I'll just have a look. Oh, okay. I'll just finish with this one last verse because it's the last bit and it's only a small one. This is the last of the words of Moroni, the very last verse, I think. And now that record which in ancient times had been sealed by the great prophet Moses is summed up in these sealed plates of Mormon, to be revealed only at the appointed time of the Lord. So you can see the importance of that. And we'll continue on. I've got some genealogy pictures there of the kings of Judah, but I think we'll finish at that point. Today's lesson. And we thank everyone. Is there any comments or questions that we can take?
As you can see, there will be a continuation of this lesson at a future time. And so it's to try and link as many of the scriptures from around that we have to the seal book.
Yes. Sister Renee, is it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you for your lesson today and all these details that you have put into it. And I've been, doing a real in-depth study into the United Order lately. And one of the things that I learned was about the Book of the Law. So the Book of the Law, and the part of it that you covered today was really good, but it's a lot more than what we ever dreamed or imagined. As a matter of fact, in the 19th century, Joseph Smith Jr. started a Book of the Law as well. And there's a hint to that in the D&C LDS 85, verse 1. It says, it is the duty of the Lord's clerk whom he has appointed to keep a history and a general church record of all things that transpire in Zion, and of all those who consecrate properties and receive inheritances legally from the bishop. And it goes on. This is the one that talks about the mighty and strong one. So even though it's not in the RLDS D&C, it's in the RLDS church history, those same words. Right. But anyway, I discovered that this Book of the Law has like the things in Deuteronomy in it that you talked about, and which includes the blessings and cursings of a covenant people. So the Deuteronomy talks about how the covenant people made Moses try to teach them about the United Order in the wilderness, which we learned in the Seal book. But it's all there in Deuteronomy too, where he was teaching them about this. Well, King Benjamin was also teaching the people about the United Order. And he had to take those records of the book of the law that he had that Nephi brought back too in order to help teach them about the United Order. But anyway, I'll have to stop. But the book of the law is so much more than that. Like there could be a whole lot more that we can learn about this by getting into the Joseph Smith papers, if that makes any sense. And that also it all has to do with the United Order. I mean,
Yes.
it actually really does. And the whole Bible, the whole Old Testament and New Testament are actually sort of like a book of the law. They're the new Old Covenant and the New Covenant. It keeps track of the people of the covenant, and it writes down their wickedness and their righteousness, their blessings and their cursings. It's all a part of that record. And Joseph Smith Jr. knew that in the 19th century, and Mauricio Berger has known that in this century, and he's like going to be giving instructions someday on the people who will keep track of what the covenant people do and their consecrations, and also how they live their lives if they're part of that covenant.
Yeah.
The whole Bible, the whole Book of Mormon, even, because Lehi and his children who came here, they made this covenant. This land has blessings and cursings, and the whole Book of Mormon is sort of like the same thing. It's fascinating. That Book of the Law is fascinating, really.
Very good.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and you see many times in the scriptures where there's a blessing and there's a curse. It's mentioned quite a lot throughout the scriptures. I can't recall the one I saw the other week, but it's mentioned quite a bit to abide by the commandments. It says it so many times, and to do all the things that he requires of us. So, and to strictly do these things, not just half measure. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for your comments, Sister Renee. That was wonderful. And I'd like to hear more of this.
For being patient with us in the class. We realise it's not one that you could probably, unless you've been studying these things continually, to ask a question, that might be. So I apologise. We have a cat here.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's all right. The reason that the cat is here is because our other blind cat had to be put to sleep on Thursday of this week, and this one is missing our other cat. So I'll just leave you with Darren while I take him away.
Okay, so I think we'll move now because time.